We're on the edge of a new console generation, and the PlayStation 5 is right on the cutting part of that edge, with Sony aiming for zero loading times and many fancy new graphical capabilities.
The potential is that the game boots in a second. There are no load screens. The game just fades down while loading a half dozen gigabytes and fades back up again. Same for a reload. You're immediately back in the action after you die. And fast travel becomes so fast it's blink and you miss it.
But what use is a new console if there aren't any games on it? Apart from doorstop or expensive foot warmer, none at all. And since a new gen machine needs great new games out of the gate, we here at Outside Xtra have searched our souls to decide on the launch games that would sell us the new Sony console on day one. Some are more likely candidates than others, but what they all have in common is that, were they to come to the PS5 early doors, we'd be pre-ordering Sony's new console faster than you can say 2.23 GHz variable frequency GPU. Okay, we couldn't say that very fast, but you get the point. Here are the games we demand to see on the PlayStation 5, Sony. How do they look? Do they look intimidated?
Back in 2017, Guerrilla Games answered the question, how do you improve open world games with fill them with robot dinosaurs? Galloping out into the world on a mechanical horse-looking thing, Horizon Zero Dawn leapt onto the PS4 in early March. PlayStation fans fell quickly in love with redhead hero Aloy and her post-apocalyptic 31st century world. Players spent hours roaming the wilderness, hacking machines, and smashing big robots with a stick. Aloy's hunting skills made wandering long-abandoned cities and vast open plains an absolute joy as you uncovered secrets of the past, tried to work out what the hell happened to humanity, and looked for answers as to why Aloy was so special. I mean, besides her on-point hairdo. Practical and stylish.
I did. Kind of hope he never has to use them, though.
The first game was a great showcase of what the PS4 could do, so Horizon Zero Dawn 2 would be an ideal launch game for the PS5. For round 2, we'd love to see Aloy in another part of the world. With the first game clearly set in North America, we'd love to see her deal with a subtropical climate. A bit like how we saw Lara Croft enter the South American jungle in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but, you know, better than that game was. Aloy is no stranger to heat, having run around the Jewel, an area roughly located in the old world's Arizona and Utah, but we'd love to see her somewhere south of the border, with tree lines meeting wide beaches and brand new towns, as well as even more vine-covered cliff tops. Especially since the last game's DLC, The Frozen Wilds, was, well, freezing.
Always these frozen wilds have punished us with biting cold and deadly steel.
Ooh, bit nippy. Adventuring through new terrain, perhaps with some improved traversal options, might give players even more cool things to do and see what machines did in other places around the world. Perhaps some boat travel might even be an option, using waterways as an additional route through the dense jungle. Plus, being in warmer climes will call for even more cool outfit variations that all the cosplayers out there can go wild recreating. If not for us, Sony, do it for the cosplayers. For God's sake.
It's hard to recall life before we played Dark Souls, although we faintly remember concepts such as calm and not waking every night from an Ornstein and Smaug night terror. But there was something before Dark Souls, namely the precursor game Demon's Souls. Also developed by From Software and directed by Hidetaka Miyazaki, this 2009 PS3 exclusive set the stage with a haunting vibe and hard-as-chewing flint gameplay that has persisted into Dark Souls, Bloodborne and Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, as well as inspiring any number of imitations from other studios. Trouble is, these days it's not so easy to play Demon's Souls because it was only released for the PS3, and dare we say it, it's now looking a little long in the tooth, much like a lot of the enemies in Demon's Souls. Happy news then that rumours are flying about a remake for the PlayStation 5, an extremely tantalising prospect. Better yet, the speculation goes that the overhaul is being handled by Bluepoint Games, a studio that specialises in remasters and can claim credit for handling the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection and the Shadow of the Colossus remake, which looked so beautiful we almost couldn't bear to destroy the huge graceful monsters that called the game home. I say almost, what can I say, I'm a sucker for an objective. Sorry, pal. It would be frankly awesome to see the 11-year-old Demon Souls given a similar overhaul. I mean, who wouldn't want to see what this fellow looks like in glittering PS5 4K? Not very nice, we're guessing.
Some games really leave an impression. For oversized Tamagotchi The Last Guardian, that impression is a footprint on your heart from where Trico stamped on it several times. From Ico to Shadow of the Colossus to The Last Guardian, the games of Japanese designer Fumito Ueda are as emotional as the end of a Pixar movie. At least when I finish these games, I'm not ugly crying in front of a whole cinema audience. Usually focused on a lone adventurer exploring a long isolated world with only a glowing girl, horse or catbird dog thing as a companion, a game by Ueda has a unique magic. With a distinctive visual style and the opportunity to wrangle either a cooperative NPC or uncooperative giant stone monster thing, these games show up a lot of other puzzle platformers. I mean, how many other games let you get dragged around by a big fish or jump off a horse and grab a bird in mid-air? Not enough, I say. But that might be about to change, as it looks like another game from Ueda is in the works, with a teaser image titled Beauty and the Beast 2018 being released on Ueda's site at the beginning of that year. All of Ueda's games have been PlayStation exclusives so far, with development companies Team Ico and Gen Design working with Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan Studio to turn these games into a reality. It would be good for Sony if this relationship continues and Fumito Ueda's next game ends up being another PlayStation-only game. Not only because this would class up the PlayStation 5 launch roster, but also because it'll keep Sony Interactive Entertainment Japan Studio busy so we don't get another knack game.
Stop him.
While we would dearly love this to happen, the fact is Ueda's games take a long time to make, likely too long for his next project to hit PS5 for launch. The Last Guardian took so long to be released after its initial announcement that it skipped the PlayStation 3 entirely, creating a painful 7-year wait for those who were desperate to play. Fingers crossed that the PS5 is not also skipped entirely, and that the only tears Ueda will force PS5 players to shed are the ones being blubbed out during his game.
Since the first game appeared on the PS2 back in 2005 and left a large number of Greek gods murdered by a very angry bald man, the God of War series has become a staple of PlayStation consoles, as familiar and welcoming to Sony fans as the PS3 tuning up orchestra sound, albeit a lot less relaxing. And when it came to the PS4, gaming's most furious red and white warrior got a bit of a makeover.
Find your way home. You are free.
2018's God of War saw a more mellow Kratos who had finally chilled a little, in every sense of the word, as we discovered him hanging out up north with the Nords, having settled back down into family life.
There it is!
Hold. What are you doing? Now his guard is up. Only fire. Only fire when I tell you to fire.
Not only this, but the gameplay was also switched up, with a new camera angle, new weapon, and a new character, one who turned Kratos into part of a team rather than a lone man on a rage rampage. No, not his son Atreus, we're talking about his amazing beard. The team is Kratos and the beard. If we had our way, we'd be unwrapping God of War 5 the very same morning we unwrap our new PlayStation, if only to see Kratos' beard rendered with all the power of Sony's new machine. Think of all the follicles. It's what teraflops were made for. God of War took 4 years to make, so we'd admittedly be very lucky to see any more Kratos rampaging in 2020. But hey, we can hope.
Take on, boy!
I am!
What does it say?
He wants to help us!
We've already delivered our demands for what we want for the next God of War game. Why don't you click the card up in the corner now to find out our deepest deity-destroying desires? One thing we forgot to add to that list, so we'll mention it now: a beard-oiling minigame. It only makes sense.
Show's over, Lee. Apparently the show's not over.
With great power comes great responsibility. So, with all that additional processing power running through a PlayStation 5, the only responsible thing to do would be to make another Spider-Man game.
The two of you would make some beautiful baby. Peter. What is it?
Admittedly, it was only in 2018 that Insomniac Games brought everyone's favourite New York-based hero, in-your-face Daredevil, to the PlayStation 4 in Marvel's Spider-Man, but we desperately want more. We loved web-slinging our way through the streets of New York, hitting gang members in the face with manhole covers and spider-punching a rogues gallery of supervillains. That's when we weren't spending 300 hours perfecting our photography skills in photo mode. Oh, Mr. Jameson, I have your front page! The first game surpassed expectations and became the PS4's fastest-selling game, so a PS5 sequel is surely a no-brainer. We might not get it for launch, but the sooner the better, frankly, and in the meantime, we can certainly speculate as to what would feature in the follow-up. With a lot of Spidey's villain roster being used in the first game, who else is left for Spider-Man to fight in a sequel, other than the small-time criminals he bumps into around New York City? Well, how about the Green Goblin, as although Norman Osborn made an appearance and affected the events of the first game, he did not don his viridescent morph suit so that we could immediately punch him out of it.
Free to continue your work in a secure environment.
Another good option for villains is the Lizard, if only to erase the monstrosity we saw in The Amazing Spider-Man from our minds. I mean, come on, he looks like the Goombas in the Mario Brothers film. We know the Lizard exists in the in-game Spidey universe thanks to Dr. Delaney's Halloween costume here, so we'd love to meet the real deal, especially as his look seems more in line with the comics and animated series thanks to the proper lizard face and all-important white lab coat.
I think he's on the dance floor. There he is, the lizard in the lab coat.
Plus, another Halloween guest that's a strong contender would be Mysterio, recently seen on the silver screen in a film that had the goddamn nerve to show us Jake Gyllenhaal's face and then cover it with a stupid fishbowl. Still, in Far From Home, he did prove himself to be a very capable villain, unlike his fans.
Hey, what's wrong with you? I worked on that helmet for a week.
With regards to the titular hero, we don't even have to limit ourselves to Peter Parker. The inclusion of Miles Morales in the first game was great, so him getting his own adventure would be a fitting plot for a sequel. And hey, with the success of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, we have plenty of spider heroes available should we want to go even further. We would definitely play a Spider-Gwen game. Hell, we might even play a Spider-Ham game. We're pretty desperate, Sony.
I'll walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and
We've been waiting for The Last of Us 2 for so long, you could easily forget that once upon a time, Sony subsidiary developer Naughty Dog made a whole other super popular series. A series that pushed technical and narrative boundaries and gave us one of gaming's most beloved and, dare I say, swoon-inducing heroes of all time. I'm talking, of course, about Crash Bandicoot. But after that, Naughty Dog made the Uncharted games, which were also pretty good. I mean, if you enjoy non-stop action roller coasters of plunder, romance, and jaw-dropping set pieces.
Whoa! These guys love blowing shit up, don't they? Nathan, down here!
Every Uncharted game is at least pretty good, and most of them are downright excellent, with the possible exception of that turn-based card game for the Vita handheld. You'll have to tell me if that was any good. I must have missed that one. Uncharted is basically Sony's flagship franchise, so it would make all kinds of commercial sense for a new game alongside the PS5. Plus, the Uncharted series has always been a fantastic showcase for what Sony consoles can achieve, and this was never more impressive than in Uncharted 4 for the PS4.
Just follow my lead.
In it, Nathan Drake was dragged out of treasure hunter retirement by a long-lost brother, lying to his wife Elena to sneak out on one last globe-trotting adventure, one that astounded players with its photorealistic jungle environments and photorealistic portrayal of long-term relationships.
So what made you change your mind? You said you almost didn't come back.
Well, I couldn't leave when you were clearly in over your head. And, you know, there's that whole marriage vow thing.
For better or worse.
Yeah. For better or worse.
Nate, buddy, you f***ed up. Real talk, a new Uncharted game is not likely to be in the PS5's launch lineup, not least because of how long it takes to make games like this, and Naughty Dog's The Last of Us Part 2 is still not out the door. But to be honest, even an announcement that a new Uncharted adventure is inbound would be enough to get our heart rates up for the PS5's debut, especially were it confirmed to star series stalwart Chloe Fraser, who proved so gosh darned enigmatic in 2017's excellent Lost Legacy, if she's not completely sick of ancient ruins by this point.
Let's see what's behind the bow door. Another old fortress.
Remarkably, 63% of the participants, almost 2/3, reported seeing imagery from the game hours after they finished playing, often just as they were falling asleep.
In 2018, a revolutionary game landed on the PlayStation 4. Tetris. Okay, anyone who missed this title might wonder why an 80s tile-matching puzzle game caused such a stir when it came out over 30 years after the original. But this wasn't any old game of Tetris. This was Tetris Effect. The best Tetris. Or bestris, if you will. This version of the puzzle classic was Eurogamer's Game of 2018, and for good reason. With an incredible zen vibe, Tetris Effect had players building up blocks to chill, dynamic music that would focus the mind of even the most stressed of players, turning an intense puzzle game into something you could easily play before bed, so long as you didn't mind your dreams being all about this, and honestly, who would? Each tetramino would fall into place satisfyingly in time with the beat, and made its own music as you guided it around the grid, making you feel like some kind of conductor to a strange but beautiful blocky orchestra. Was so satisfying that the music and sound design got nods at pretty much every awards event going, and to be honest, if they hadn't, we would have been very mad, and then played Tetris Effect to calm down. Whew. Here's the thing though, we can only imagine how cool these musical arrangements would sound with the newfangled 3D audio that Sony has touted for the PlayStation 5. So we desperately want to hear even more chill beats in a brand new game on a brand new console. So desperate that we want to try out this 3D audio on PS5's day one. Another chill feature was the variation in backgrounds as you played, all reacting to you as you cleared lines with beautiful animations and particle effects, something that we really enjoyed alongside the music.
And whenever you get some lines or get a Tetris, everything goes boom, and all of the animals go like ooh, and like ooh, and they all turn into particles, and you're watching, like, I watched this manta ray just like float underneath me and like, whoa.
Imagine even more detailed particle whales swooping past the screen at you. Ooh. And how about some brand new animations? What will they think of next? Water cats? Star otters? Hang on, this is gold. We've got to write these down.
So those were just a few of the games that we would dearly, dearly love to see arrive on the PS5 on day one. We're talking day one, people. Think about it. Imagine it. You're unwrapping that PS5. It's Christmas morning. What else is in the box? What else is in the box? We want to know your picks of amazing potential PS5 launch titles. So let us know what you would love to see. And if you enjoyed this video, then why not like and subscribe? All right, thanks for watching. Goodbye.